Now, unfortunately, I don't know why, because they've made another mistake here. What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the free trade-in game collection challenge, the series where we go and source video game related items, flip some of it to make the money back, and then take whatever's left over into CEX, trade it in, get some vouchers and buy some games. And everything you see behind me has come really that way. It's kind of gone off that sort of premise recently, where we've been moaning about CEX more than we have been using their facilities, but that's just the way it's gone, unfortunately. A fair few things have popped up, and I will call them out on it, document it, and discuss it with you guys if that happens, and I will continue to do that as well. But we are going to get back into the swing of using the facility. So in today's episode, we're going to go and spend some of the profit. I don't actually know what the cash profit is on this series, but it's on screen for you now. So there we are. We have all that money to spend that is 100% profit. I'm not going to go and spend all that today. Last week I did a pilot run, I guess, a test run of this kind of thing. And what we're going to do is each week we're going to take between 5 and 10, possibly 15 if there's something that I really want. We're going to go into CEX and we're just going to pick up as many games as we can within reason. I'm not just going to go in there and buy loads of FIFAs. I've said this before. I'm going to go in and buy games that I really like, that I think would be good in the collection, that I would like to have in the collection. But the games that are just cheap enough that you can go in and spend a couple of quid on and not have to worry. So we're just going to chip away at the profit that way rather than just going out and spending £500 on something. Because even though we have that in profit in the series, I don't have that in cash to be able to just go and buy whatever. Anyway, so in recent episodes, like I said, we've been moaning a little bit too much. In the next episode after this, I go to a boot sale, pick up a console, a few accessories and things, and then we'll go and take those and trade them in to CEX. But in this episode, I'm going to go into CEX and maybe another shop as well, have a little look around and buy some games. So my first port of call was, what's it called? Regenerate, which is a pawn shop. I've mentioned it before. In fact, I think I said last week that I was going to go there and buy all of the games from there, but I ended up not buying anything, incidentally, because the prices are just too close to eBay. So if I'm ever going to go in there and buy anything, it's going to be the odd game that they've mispriced or something. So the game that I spotted last time I was there, PlayStation 1 game, I do pick it up in a second, I completely forgotten what it's called, was actually bang on what the eBay price is, maybe a couple of pound less. I think it might be this one right here. Can't quite remember whether it was that or not, but that's why I went back in, because there were a couple of things I saw when I last went in, when I was editing, and I thought, I'll go back in, and I'll probably do a lot of this sort of segment in here, and I actually don't. The other thing, the angle is really weird because there is a desk to my right and there are two people just stood there staring. And I thought, well, this is a bit awkward, so I won't make it too obvious. I've sort of half turned my back to them, and that's why you get in this really weird angle. But they've got a lot of games. It's just, unfortunately, every game I picked up, the price of it was just too close to what I could get it online. Like, I know you're thinking, well, if it's close to what you can get it online, and it was a little bit cheaper, and that's the whole point, but I don't really want to pay online prices, let alone a little bit less. So they do have a good selection, to be fair, of different platforms, PS Vita. I'm looking through the prices, and they're not terrible. They're about £10 each, maybe. Some of them were a little bit lower, some of them a little bit higher. But I don't think I ever intend on getting that handheld, so I don't think I just put it back. I thought I'm not even going to bother. Looking at a couple of PS2 games, there was a Need for Speed Underground on top that was, I think, £2.50. Then we went to CEX, which is like $2 up. CEX is a lot more reliable. There's a lot more games in there that are favourably priced. This one, however, was £4. Whereas in the other shop it was like £2.50. So if I ever want to get that game, I'm better off going to Regenerate to pick it up. But I'm looking around, and there are a few PS2 games that I want to pick up, and they're not expensive. There are a lot of PS2 games I want to get that are, I would say, on the more expensive side. Underground 2 is, I think, a tenner these days, but I want to pick that up at some point, but that will probably be as part of something that I trade in. I want to start picking up some GameCube games as well, but they are a little bit on the expensive side. This Turtles game looks really good, but for, what was it, £20? I don't think that will be entering the collection anytime soon, unless I have credit to take in, or things to take in for credit, I should say. But I do end up picking up, I think, at least one PS2 game. It's been a few days since I've actually filmed this, given everything, so that everything is behind me, so I don't really know what I walked out with. But Mercenaries was one of those games as a kid that I bought, and I say as a kid, I was probably a little bit older than... It was toward the back end of the PlayStation 2 life cycle, I think, Mercenaries. And they didn't remaster it for modern consoles. They made Mercenaries 2, I believe, but they didn't remaster Mercenaries. So we may or may not be picking that up. It was complete as well, which is quite nice. A lot of decent games here for the Xbox 360, Beijing 2008, which was a game that I pointed out last week, because I picked up the London 2012 last week, spoiler alert, and I said Beijing was a better game, which I stand by, but I didn't see it on the shelf. But I remembered it was there, and I think that was one of the first things I picked up. The other game that I really wanted to get was Brothers in Arms. I don't know why I didn't. I just did not pick it up. I didn't reach for it. I didn't see it. Even though I've just seen it there on the shelf, and that's what jogged my memory of it. It just didn't really... I don't know why it just didn't enter my head. But there we are. Loads of other games I'm seeing now that I didn't see there, actually. Far Cry 3, one of my favourite games of all time. Completely blanked it. Don't know why. You've got to get the Halos, I think, on Xbox, even though... I mean, I played Halo 3, and it was decent enough. You know, it was a good game, but I've not played any of them since. But you've got to get them anyway. Prison Break is a very underrated game. If you like Prison Break, it's kind of one of those games you have to play as a fan, because it is actually really good. I only picked it up for achievements, but I actually ended up really enjoying it. Portal, another game that has been remastered, I think, a fair few times. You can actually download it quite cheap, but I think I will probably pick it up at some point. Lots of games on the other side there. Stick of Truth, I think, has been remastered. This was one I picked up because we have a steel tin, and I cannot for the life of me remember, as you can see my thumb tapping, I was trying to remember what platform I have the steel tin for, and I still don't know because I still haven't checked. I think it's PS3, that's why I put it back. I would have got it had I known, but I didn't, so I left it there. Looking at the Xbox One games, I did say that these weren't out of bounds. If I can find anything cheap enough to go within this sort of budget, then I'm definitely going to be doing it. There was Sunset Overdrive, which is, to be fair, is not a bad game. It's £1. I thought it was really cheap. I've left it there for the time being. I may go back to it, but I thought for £1, you cannot go wrong with that. And then we're back in the Xbox 360 section. We're looking down on the bottom shelves. Fable is going to be a game, or 2 games, or 3 games even, that I look to pick up. I think they only released Fable 2 and 3 on the 360, though there are definitely special editions of both of them. But what games did I come back with from my trip to CEX? So some interesting titles. We could have picked up some modern stuff, really, when I was looking at Sunset Overdrive for £1. There were quite a few other games in there as well, some Star Wars games and stuff, which, to be fair, are good games. There's nothing wrong with them. They're just so common, and they were given out in bundle deals and everything. They're just really cheap. So over time, we will look to include some Xbox One stuff, maybe some PS4 stuff if that is a way forward. But the PS4 stuff tends to be a little bit more expensive than Xbox. I'm not quite sure why that is, but anyway, you saw me pick up a PS2 game, so I'll show you that first because I did end up going with it. It is Mercenaries. This is a really good game. It is complete, and this was at the beginning of my illness. So when I'm in there, disc is actually in really good condition. I picked up these things and I took them home, and they've been in the bag ever since, and I've not looked at them. I honestly, until I picked them up a second ago, I couldn't even remember what I bought. But this is a really good game, the only PS2 game that I actually picked up. I remember playing through this, and it just kept getting better and better and better, and you don't really see many people talk about it, so I'm very happy to spend £2 on that game. Hopefully you saw some gameplay. But just for those who are concerned as well, and that I've been going around spreading disease, I actually tested negative that very morning, but I had a sore throat. But you can't, these days, as opposed to a few months ago or a year ago. If you had a sore throat but you weren't testing positive, maybe you would have stayed home. These days you just go about and do your thing. But anyway, picked up another game you actually saw, which was Beijing 2008. Had to pick this up, having picked up London 2012 last week. This is by far the better game because it goes back to athletics roots, and I know there are other sports in then bar athletics, but when it comes to doing the 100 meters, I think the 200, even the 400 possibly as well, you actually have to do the old tappy rather than, oh, there's the receipt, but it is complete with the manual as well. I can't remember what's what here. The condition of the disc is absolutely, I mean, that is brand new. That is so good. Fair play, big fan of that. With those type of games, you'd expect the disc condition to be quite bad because it's like a FIFA, it would get used quite a lot, but that's very, very good. But I'm a big fan of, you know, tapping the two buttons to get the speed, and it's like an endurance thing. But with the London 2012, you're tapping to keep a bar within a certain like meter. And that isn't, it's skill, of course it is, but it's not like a longevity thing. So when you're running a 400 meter race, in real life, you come to the final 100 meters and you think, right, now I've got to go for it, but your body is like, can we stop? I'm a bit tired. And it's going to be the same for your fingers when you're doing that on the buttons as well, or that or whatever. So I'm a big fan of that. Anyway, total, we bought 4 games, so there's another 2 to come, and I spent £8. So far with those 2, we've spent 3, so there's another 5 to go. Ooh, I'm going to show you the least expensive one first, and it's a very common game. It is Elder Scrolls Oblivion. This is a game that I've only played a little bit, to be fair. Obviously, everyone has played Skyrim, and I love Skyrim. I've played through it at least 3 times, maybe 4 if you include like a... What did I play it on? I played it primarily on the Xbox 360, and I finished it twice on there. I finished it once on the PC, and I think I've played it on another console as well. It might have been a remaster on the Xbox One or something, but that is a banging game. Once again, I can feel by the weight of it, it is complete. Now, unfortunately, I don't know why, because they've made another mistake here. I have the Classics disc. That is not a Classics case. So, I mean, a lot of people won't care. I know I'm being fussy, and the disc condition isn't amazing, to be fair. It has got a lot of surface scratches, but I'm not a big fan of that, you know. That shouldn't be in there because it's not a Classics thing. It triggers me a little bit, but not enough for me to make a I've been scammed by CEX video again. But that was £1.50. It is a banging game. It's a classic. You kind of have to have it in your collection. Cheap enough. Don't know if they've remade that, you know. I know they've remade Skyrim on every platform going. You can get it on a toaster, but I don't know about Oblivion. I don't think they've remade that. There is another Elder Scrolls game coming out, I would say soon. Probably going to be like 3 years' time. But you kind of have to, you know, if you've enjoyed one, you'll enjoy them all, kind of thing. Then this game, they've definitely not remade it. I would love them to remake it. This one costs £3.50. It is, and I say this a lot, but it just is. It's one of my favourite games because it came out of nowhere. It was a big surprise. I don't think a lot of people expected it to be good, and you just don't really see it mentioned that often. Dante's Inferno. That is a great game. You go down into hell and you have to go through, I think, 7 stages, and it is just, it's trippy, it's gory, there's a lot of action in it. It is just a really good game. £3.50. Is it complete? It doesn't feel complete. It is. It is complete. So wherever I can, I will get complete games. Not great condition. Should work fine though. The good thing about the CEX sort of platform, not platform. Can't think of the word I'm looking for. No, it's gone. The way that they do things, basically. It came to me then, but it's gone again, is that they will put the disc in like a little sleeve and keep it behind the till, but they will leave the manual in the case. So when you're looking through, you can open it up on the shelf and go, right, so it's got the manual, the condition of the manual, condition of the artwork and everything. If you're that like anal about it, you can check everything except the disc, and then when you get to the counter, you can have a look at the disc. If they left the discs in the cases, people would run away with them, so I understand that. So the fact that they leave the manual in there, I really like. So when you open it, it doesn't have a manual, you know 95% chance that there is no manual with this, because there is a very slim chance that it will be with that behind the counter. But that is a very, very, very good game. I would say underrated. I don't know how it was received, but I never see anyone talk about it, so I guess it is underrated. I really like it though. Really, really good game. Really good game. Anyway, we've added 3 Xbox 360 games and a PlayStation 2 game to the collection. And that's kind of what this segment of this series is all about. We go out with £5 to £10, and in this instance, I've spent £8. I could have got that Sunset Overdrive and spent £9, and then I could have gone and got maybe Star Wars Battlefront. I'm looking at the still image that I have on screen. Maybe a couple of other games that were only like £1 or £2 that I could have picked up, and I could have spent £10, £12. That would have been fine. But, you know, there's no need to. Picked up 4 games. I'm hoping my Xbox One is backwards compatible with that. I don't know if it will be. I'm really hoping it's backwards compatible with that, because we really need to pick up an Xbox 360. That is going to be, I wouldn't say the next console we're going to pick up, because I'm hoping to have acquired another one, and I'll talk about that in a future episode. But I am hoping soon anyway we can acquire a 360 and maybe even a PS3, and then start to buy some PlayStation 3 games as well as Xbox 360 games. But that's going to do it for today. We have a receipt for those who are interested. I didn't dither the system in any way. I don't know how I would have done that, but 4 items, £8, not bad. You can build a budget on a console. You can build a game collection on a budget. We've spent £8, we've got some decent games, but also we're spending profit from the series and we're putting it on the shelf behind us. In the next episode, I will have credit to go and spend on some pricier games, and we may be looking at some retro stuff as well, because they have a pretty decent game in my local CEX right now that I'm thinking will probably sell quite soon, so I'm hoping to be able to get there before anybody else, but I need to be allowed out of the house first, so I need to have a negative test, which this morning I don't, but hopefully soon. If you have enjoyed this episode, do me a favour and hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and until the next time, goodbye.